Hello and welcome to Autism News. On the show tonight we'll be taking a sneak peek inside Worcester College of Technology, or the Fountain of Knowledge, to see how they support their students with autism. But before that, let's give you the basics. Now, the autism affects 3 specific areas, and we call those the triad of impairments: social, communication, flexibility of thought, and there's a 4th one called sensory. More about that later. Now, let's hear from Debbie Morris, the Equality and Diversity Manager of Worcester College of Technology.
Basically, it means that I need to make sure that people are treated fairly and that we look at people's individual needs and look at how the college systems and structures help people to achieve. So it may be that somebody needs more time with an exam, it may be that we need to look at where people are learning, do we need to make changes to the environment? And also it's to make sure that people have a voice. So we are very keen to hear the views of people with autistic spectrum disorders so that we're learning by their experience, not making assumptions. We already know that there are some things we'd like to change at the college, such as having a refectory, a quieter area for our students with autistic spectrum disorders. But we've also had some really successful students coming through the college who've done so well because we have such flexible support available for our students, and we definitely see people as individuals. So my role is to make sure that people are having a really good experience at the college and making sure we're listening to people's points of views.
Yeah, I'm joined here by Stuart Laverick, Principal and Chief Executive of Worcester Technology College. So Stuart, what do you know about autism?
What I know about autism goes back a good number of years. I had good friends of mine who I used to meet when I used to go swimming, and their 2 boys had autism. Lovely guys, clearly struggled a little bit with their communication and took a while to get to know you, but clearly lovely lads, but had trouble with their communication. And I know the autistic spectrum, there's different degrees of autism, so I'm aware that they would have been probably a mid-range autistic. I have also had the pleasure of working in a number of special schools when I did my training at Manchester University, and again there I had a lot of pleasure working with young people who were autistic. They again were severely autistic, and it was difficult to communicate with them, but again over time I found I could develop relationships. My view, I've seen some, and certainly I've had the pleasure of teaching students who are autistic who've done very well academically. I think it's one of those areas where you can get some very, very intelligent people who can be very creative, can be very bright. But again, it tends to be some issues around communication, but it varies. There's not a standard. So I've come across, worked with a lot, had a pleasure working with a lot, and know it's a complex thing and emphasises what we all know. We're all different, and it's just a form of difference, and once you get to understand that, you can work with people and you can often develop some good relationships.
What does Worcester Tech do for these students?
We are very passionate about providing an inclusive curriculum. And inclusive means that all students, irrespective of their background and their specific needs, will look to cater for them. And certainly for people who are in need of support linked to their autism, it's something we've committed resources to and will continue to commit resources to. We don't just work with specialist staff ourselves, but we also work with other providers, for example from Worcestershire County Council, who support us to make sure we can support autistic young people and older people with not just their education and training, but as they're becoming independent with their getting used to living alone and things like that. So we work in a multidisciplinary way, both within the college and with our partner organisations, to make sure we can provide a good education and training offer for young people, but also work with our partners to make sure we can help them get equipped for life.
From your own experiences, do you think that this college is autism friendly?
Certainly, I've had great pleasure from when I started the college. I was invited to talk to and to meet the students, the new students who were coming in, and that was great. And I was really impressed with our colleagues who specialise working with students. There's big awareness of the needs of autistic learners. Debbie Morris, who's our Equality and Diversity Manager, spends a lot of time and effort in terms of staff development. So not only the specialists who work with the students who need that support. But everybody has an awareness of how better we can support the learners. I'm very impressed. I had the great pleasure of going to the Christmas party as well, where I have to say I pride myself on being quite knowledgeable about Harry Potter, but I was blown out the water by one of the autistic students who knew everything under the sun about it, and I was very impressed in being totally defeated in the competition on a range of things, emphasising, as I say, that there's some very bright autistic learners who've got a lot of capabilities, and it was fun, and we thoroughly enjoyed my eating and drinking and sharing some good times with them. And I must admit there was a young woman there whose ability to draw was unbelievable in terms of her ability to sketch, and I was very jealous. I would love to be able to do that. So yeah, we do a lot, and I think what we do is we help individuals excel at what they do and develop a whole range of skills, and I think that's important for everybody.
What's your vision for the future to make this college more autism friendly?
I think there is no doubt about it. One of the areas that I'm looking at in the colleges, and it is important to listen to the learner voice, and one of the key things that the learners have fed back is that sometimes autistic learners are particularly sensitive to noise, to sound, and they've found, for example, when they are in refectory areas and that it can be too noisy, and they find that distressing and does affect their ability to communicate effectively and to enjoy their time in college. So one of the areas I've been particularly concentrating on is I'm looking at trying to release some social space so that it can help, because that seems to have been an area that they had particular concerns, so that's been a priority.
Yeah, thanks very much, Stu, for your time.
So what are you up to this weekend?
Nothing much, just, chilling with my homies and kicking back, watching a few films. Ooh, stop it, that tickles. Hold on. We're on. Go, run. We good. It's great to hear from the staff, but let's hear from the students. But who are the students? What do you study?
I do media studies, IT, numeracy, and A-level Spanish.
I study ICT.
Professional catering foundation course.
I study motorcycle maintenance level 1.
I'm currently studying BTEC level 3 national for IT professionals.
And what support do you currently have?
At the moment, I go to Avril Kemp on Tuesdays because she keeps me up to date with my courses so far.
I have support from Kim sometimes once a week. She comes and helps with my work to make sure I'm catching up okay and make sure the work's alright.
At the moment, Jill helps us in the cafe, and you have Linda who helps us.
I don't have any support in my lessons, I just do the work myself.
I have learning support from Kinley.
And do you enjoy college? And do you find it more positive than school?
I have found life here just as positive as the school I went to, which was Breedon.
I enjoy college. It's more grown up than school. You're treated like an adult and you're treated with respect.
Yes.
It is more enjoyable than school, and I do enjoy it, yes.
I do enjoy Worcester College. I've always found it to be a friendly environment, and I've done quite a few courses here.
I'm here with Julie Harris, who's a course leader for learning support. So, Julie, what is most common in your students with autism?
Well, there's lots of positive qualities that they have. Quite often they're very intelligent, hardworking, reliable, attention to detail. They're good at focusing on things.
How do you support these students?
Well, they do have some problems that they need some help. Sometimes they have difficulty in social situations where they find them confusing, and that causes anxiety. And so they can have a regular slot where they see a mentor to discuss any problems that they have, or they can come and see us at any time, really, should they feel that they need some help.
What techniques do you use to help them with their course?
Well, a lot of people with autism have problems with sudden changes in the timetable or anything like that. So we prepare paperwork that will help them. We are using highlighters and things like that. They've got a reference point should there be any changes. We've also got a quiet room for them to have their lunch in. Should they feel a bit anxious, and they might find that the canteen is a bit noisy, because sometimes people with autism have sensory integration problems.
There's a technique called scaffolding. Could you please explain it?
If you think about supporting a building with scaffolding, you don't need it on all the time. Once the building is strong, you can take the scaffolding away. It's a bit like that with support, really. People need a lot of help at a certain time, and then you can gradually take that away. And we think that's a good image for support in this college, and this is what we try to achieve.
How would you improve the support that you give?
I think we give a good support now, but we would like a common room, a nicely laid out common room for people with autism, and for any vulnerable people really, so that they can escape the hurly-burly of college life and prepare themselves to come back to lectures when they're feeling a bit better.
Yeah, thanks very much, Julia. Look, I told you once, I'll tell you 100 times, I have said no midgets. Call you back. What a variety of different courses that the students study, and it's important to know that because everyone with autism is different and it affects them differently. What I mean is that people with autism, it affects them in many different ways, and in the different triads it varies on the different person. Like it'll affect one person one way in social, but may affect them more in communication for another person. Now, work in a college environment is not all that they struggle with. There's the world around them, and this is where I bring in the subject of sensory. Remember? I said that at the beginning. Flexibility of thought, and there's a fourth one called sensory. More about that later. See? I did say that. So, if I was to say to you that there was five senses, I would be wrong. This can't be true. What are you saying? There's gotta be five senses. There can't be seven. Stop confusing me, please. Oh my God! There is in fact seven. And there's the basic five, which are your smell, sight, taste, touch, and hearing. But the other two are proprioception, which is your spatial awareness, and vestibular, which is your body awareness. So what I mean by proprioception is aware of the items around you. So someone with autism might not be aware how the distance between that computer is, and might literally punch it in the face, thinking that it's further away. And also they'll be aware of their bodies, so they may be aware that their arm's doing this and touching someone. They might not be aware of how their body and how it impacts on other people. But for this demonstration, we're going to focus specifically on the hearing. I didn't get a word of that. What did you say? Demonstration on what? Hearing? Yeah, it's hearing. You're not listening. Hearing. Yeah, hearing. One of those. Roll it. Roll it. Roll it! As you can see, there is nothing but a blank screen. There is a reason for this. I'm not as stupid as I look. Well, you wouldn't know, would you? The screen's blank, you can't see me. Anyway, I want to try and give you an idea of what it's like for people with autism who have sensory issues, especially with their hearing. Let's look at a classroom, where a student must listen to what the lecturer has to say, and the air conditioner is on. Could you hear that? That's possibly what it sounds like to someone who's neurotypical, perhaps. Now, let's turn it up. And this is what it would sound like, possibly, to other students with autism. Now the lecturer is addressing the class. Add the air conditioner to that, Then someone is tapping their pen on a table. It's getting harder now to focus on the lecturer's voice. Now, let's take a look at the classroom as a whole. What the previous sounds have explained is how it can be hard for students to focus in a typical classroom environment in further or higher education. Now, let's re-enter the classroom. Now, the lecturer's talking at the air conditioner. Add someone tapping their pen. Add other students talking. Yeah, man, whatever. Possibly some typing on the computer. Some noise going on from outside. Don't mind whatever. Yeah, whatever. Yeah, whatever. That's cool. Yeah, man, whatever. Yeah, man, whatever. Yeah, it's all good, whatever. Yeah, don't mind whatever. Yeah, whatever. And that's possibly what it could be like for a student to have some form of sensory overload. You can see how hard it can be for people to focus when there's all this noise going on outside. Especially in a classroom when they're trying to hear what the tutor's saying. Some people. They find it hard to pick up certain noises, to find out which one's most important. Shh. Anyway, with all the different ways the students need to be supported, it needs to be arranged in a specific way. So let's find out how that is organised. How many students do you have at the college with autism?
Well, that's a little bit of a difficult one to answer, Tom, because some of our students come here with a diagnosis and they're very open about their needs and their difficulties. And other people might have gone all the way through school and never had a diagnosis. So they don't know why they find some things tricky and difficult, but we might suspect that they might have some autism type needs. So I think, to summarise, that there's probably about 50 students who I would definitely say are students with autism or Asperger's, but there could be quite a few more.
How do you accommodate the many different issues that surround autism?
Right. I mean, as you know, everyone's an individual, aren't they? And I think that's really true of people with autism. So what we try to do is focus on that individuality and treat everyone separately and look at their own particular needs. Some people have lots of strategies in place and they just are happy to get along with just a mentor who they can see every now and then to check that they're okay. Other people want a package of support. Now what we do in that case is look at their different needs, and so I might say that someone meets one support worker for academic needs, another for anxiety and emotional needs, and somebody else as a general mentor, and we divide their support up into little boxes really, because that's easy for people to cope with.
Where does the money come from that you spend within the college to support the students?
Right, that very much depends on a person's age. So the age of a student, there are different funding streams, and we draw down funding from those funding streams to support the work we do in college. Also, it's important for students to remember, if they're going into HE, that they need to apply for disabled students allowance. They need to take action on that, because then they control their own support. So that's how that works.
And how do you train your staff to support the students?
Right, there's several types of staff at College Road. There's all our teaching and lecturing staff who would want a general awareness of students with autism. And so we have autism awareness sessions, and we had a whole month of autism awareness last November, where we're trying to help everybody to have a greater understanding so that their teaching and support is more effective. But within my own team, we need specialist and expert skills. So we buy in some special help from an expert specialist teacher who's very much part of the team, and he helps me when I want particular advice. And we also generally all try and gain knowledge and experience from one another, and very much from the learners too, so that we're all improving all the time in the support we can give to people.
That's great, thanks, Jill. In this film, we have explored autism, specifically in the Worcester College of Technology, and how they support their students. But they're struggling because funding is being cut. And these students need the funding to get the support that they deserve and need. Because if you take away their support, they may not be able to learn, and everyone deserves a right to an education. Thanks for watching.
Land that I heard of once in a lullaby. High somewhere over the rainbow, skies are blue, and love dreams that you dare to dream really do come true. Oh, someday I wish upon a star, wake up with clouds so far behind me, where troubles melt like lemon drops, high above the chimney tops. That's where you'll find me, or somewhere over the rainbow. Bluebirds fly, birds fly.